if you look at the hideous action in the stock of Nvidia today, you'd think CEO Jensen Huang offered nothing special at his CES keynote last night, or maybe even that he canceled it. But sometimes the stock doesn't tell the whole story, particularly this stock. First of all, the whole tech sector rolled over today, even as other parts of the market like healthcare, the banks, they held up well. Second, I'd argue that tech stocks were victims of the flailing 10-year treasury, as I said at the top of the show. Finally, this stock was up huge going into Jensen's speech last night at its highs. It was shocking that Nvidia managed to open up strongly this morning, and it was sailing. It only fell from those levels because the yield on the 10-year treasury spiked. Listen, I'm a stock guy, not a tech guy, not a health guy, and not a bank guy, but I am what's called a generalist. I cover many different industries and many different companies. But some stocks I follow more closely than others, stocks like Nvidia. That means I know Nvidia's capabilities, and as someone who knows about the company, I did find last night's speech pretty darn dazzling. See, last night Jensen took a leap to go much deeper with physical AI, including making humanoid robots and taking autonomous driving to the next level. As Jensen said, quote, everything that moves from cars and trucks to factories and warehouses will be robotic and embodied by AI, end quote. To me, that sounds like the agentic economy, where we have digital agents that can do all sorts of things for us, and it's all Nvidia. The world will never be the same if this happens, and after last night, I think it's happening much sooner than expected. That was the takeaway. Jensen talked about the possibly relevant AI PC, something that's been considered a bust. He mentioned several uses for Apple's Vision Pro for healthcare and gaming, another alleged bust. Plus, there are all new clients like Toyota, that may want to build out a network using a supercomputer brain in one location and then a brain on board. I know that just sounds like a press release, but if Toyota, a well-capitalized company, decides to build out a Tesla-like autonomous driving system, it's going to have to buy hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA chips. That's good for business. Very additive. Now, there are always people, plenty of people actually, who own Nvidia for the long term, like the trust does. They should be gratified by all these very important announcements. But there's also a huge group of people who own Nvidia because it goes up, often by a lot. And the stock went nuts going into and immediately after Jensen's speech. These people, many of whom buy call options, not common stock, don't know enough about the company to stay in it when the stock starts selling off. I'm sure they didn't watch the keynote or read the blogs, and they're just in it because of the momentum. When the momentum turns, they turn too. Sell. To me, this is business as usual, people. While I may not know all the exciting specs that Jensen talked about, as I see it, he assured you that the new industrial revolution is alive and well and coming to you in a very short time. In my eyes, Nvidia stock was brought down not by anything lacking at CES, but because there was too much hot money in the stock. And these kinds of fellow travelers are your worst enemy if you're a shareholder. This decline had nothing to do with the specs from Blackwell or any of NVIDIA's other chips. I thought NVIDIA died a few years ago. But the company NVIDIA, it is alive and well with a stock that's had this kind of move over and over again. It just stands out because the company now has $3.4 trillion market capitalization, slightly below Apple. And to some degree this morning at $153 stock, it was priced for perfection. It closed at $140. The thing is, last night Jensen actually gave us perfection. And that's why NVIDIA actually opened up, but other forces intervened and crushed the stock. We don't know what the employment number will look like on Friday, but if it's at all soft, today's sellers will be kicking themselves. If you don't already own it, you can think about buying some now, maybe nicely below its all-time high, and wait until the labor report to buy more. If it comes in hot, you will get a chance to buy this stock lower, maybe much lower. But understand one thing: the keynote dazzled. The new projects are way ahead of any other company, and this new industrial revolution belongs to NVIDIA. That doesn't mean the stock can't go down. It just means that you can buy happily by the inevitable pullbacks, although when they do happen, remember, they tend to be sizable and brought about by scared shareholders who aren't sure exactly what NVIDIA makes, other than sparkling leather jackets and mini Jensens.
Breaking news from the world of artificial intelligence has left investors buzzing. NVIDIA might be the first company to reach the $4 trillion market cap, despite all the challenges the stock might be facing. From DeepSeek chipping away at its market cap, to all the anxiousness and the uncertainty that surrounds its supply process. Prepare to delve into what this development means for NVIDIA and the stock market at large, without giving away all the juicy details just yet. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
We have this paper out of Stanford where these researchers claim to have trained a reasoning model for $50 in cloud credits. That's making the rounds.
Well, we can ask Renee Haas that. I think that by the end, these guys are going to make it so that they pay you to take that. I mean, there's a little absurdity going on here. Why is NVIDIA not at 20 or 30? Because it's not true.
Well, I think there's two different things here.
Right.
One is the potential commoditization of the of the AI providers, the OpenAIs, the Geminis, although it's obviously associated with the Anthropics. You want to go through them, and whether they will be sort of offering all of them a product that is very much similar. And so, what is going to end up differentiating them?
Right.
By the way,
has one.
OpenAI trying to raise another $40 billion at a billion plus dollar valuation.
Well, we have to hear what Amazon says, because Amazon could later waste everybody.
And then there's the other side of it, which is, yes, but you're going to need inference. Inferencing is everything, and that's still going to require Blackwell chips from Nvidia, the only real player, even though others are trying to design some of their chips.
Now, that's what we're going to hear from Renee Haas.
And any efficiencies will just be baked in and ultimately get us to wherever we're going a bit faster.
Well, what's hurt this period, it is the Nvidia quiet period. And what if Jensen were to come out and say, you know what, I hope this stuff goes to zero, because then you'll be able to use the part of Blackwell that is so great, which I think is true. In other words, there was another recommendation today of NVIDIA. They're obviously trying to get it so that it stabilizes. But I think that NVIDIA, if we hear tonight that Amazon says, you know what, we got to spend, and our Trainium isn't going to do it, we remain great partners with NVIDIA. If we hear remain great partners with NVIDIA, David, NVIDIA goes to 245?
Really?
Yeah.
Touching on the events of the last 2 years, the narrative of NVIDIA has been nothing short of spectacular. Since OpenAI's launch of ChatGPT on November 30th, 2022, NVIDIA's shares have skyrocketed by an astonishing 743%, turning heads and emptying pockets as investors scrambled to catch this high-flying star. Amidst this meteoric rise, NVIDIA seemed poised to crown itself the first $4 trillion stock on Wall Street, with its key competitors being none other than fellow tech giants Apple and Microsoft. But before going on with the video, are you into cryptocurrency? If so, check out our second channel, Investocracy Crypto. We bring you breaking news, expert analysis, and the latest trends in the fast-moving world of digital assets. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor or just curious about the future of finance, we've got something for you. Click the link in the description to subscribe to Investocracy Crypto now. Don't miss out and stay ahead of the game. Now, let's get back to the video.
Are you reassessing one of your favorite stocks, Nvidia, at all? I mean, what if we can call you know what on DeepSeek, the cost, right, of what they allegedly did, what they are purported to have done? It's almost irrelevant. What if that's just a moment that suggests it's going to become demonstrably cheaper to build these models? And that's going to have a transformative impact on the kinds of companies that have benefited to this point. They're just not going to make as much money as they once thought they could.
Right. So I think there's a couple of things that even OpenAI, if they were to make their O3 model, I don't know how much their O3 model cost or their O1 model, it's not 2 orders of magnitude more expensive to make than the DeepSeek model. It may have been, a few multiples higher, not orders of magnitude higher. That's the first thing. Secondly, the total cost of the training of DeepSeek and all of that infrastructure, and also the fact that they were kind of trained on other models, other LLMs.
Right, it's open source.
Right, so because it was open sourced, means that you still need that base infrastructure. Now, I would remind you that CapEx numbers actually didn't come down at all. Google, Meta, maybe not Meta, but Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, they knew of all of these techniques and are using those techniques themselves.
The very efficiencies touted by DeepSeek, on the other hand, and the same ones that caused the NVIDIA stock to stumble a bit, align with the Jevons paradox, where technological improvements, contrary to reducing costs, spur greater expenditure and demand for such innovations. Thus, NVIDIA's cutting-edge technology could enter a renaissance phase fueled by this new competition, rather than wilting under its shadow. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
What happened to DeepSeek? I thought we all were supposed to be cut. Did we all just get had on the DeepSeek story?
Well, Jevon didn't get had. He knew. the 1865 economist back in Great Britain.
Yes,
we were talking
you
about
did.
a lot last week, Jevons Paradox.
Yes,
because
you
listen,
did.
I don't think any of us expected, and I think we said this last week, when we got the commentary from many of these companies that they would suddenly reverse their CapEx in some way. But I think what perhaps is a bit more surprising is the increases. You mentioned Meta's, which occurred on Friday, I believe it was, 60 to 65 billion. Microsoft, at least 80, probably 85 billion. Some say will go as high as 90 billion this year. And then you just referred to that significant increase in CapEx from Alphabet to 75 billion. The numbers are stunning, obviously, and they all point to potentially an overreaction, I guess some would argue, in what happened to Nvidia's stock price. I would add to that, Jim, that Alphabet shares are going to be down in part because of the deceleration of the growth rate of cloud. 30%, yes, still a very strong number, but not as strong as it had been. But what do you make of the comments on the call when the CFO said the cloud misses due to being supply constrained? More demand than available capacity. Doesn't that say good things for NVIDIA?
Yes, it does. It says great things. Now, what people are still concerned about is, if you notice in their verbiage, that they're going to be the first to sell Blackwell. Well, wait a second. I thought Blackwell was selling like mad. So that was a pause. Second, we have one more in this gauntlet. Will Amazon say that they're going to pause? Why didn't Alphabet say, you know what, we're in light of DeepSeek, we're going to maybe pause our spend, but they couldn't because they're an honest company, and Ashkenazi, who's the CFO, is not going to let them do that. I mean, Carl, we sold down NVIDIA because of a belief that you didn't need all this CapEx. So far, everyone has said they do. Amazon's the one that has the most that they're working on that's away from NVIDIA. But if Amazon says, you know what, we're going to need to do CapEx, then NVIDIA's going to go up rather dramatically.
In conclusion, despite recent jitters precipitated by DeepSeek's surprising entry into the AI domain, NVIDIA's potential remains undiminished. The market has a knack for drama, and while this episode induced a brief bout of panic selling, the long-term trajectory seems radiant with potential. But what about you? Do you think NVIDIA will reach the $4 trillion market cap? Finally, if you would like to know what companies like NVIDIA have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.